Eradicator.
Alright guys, we are going to watch a video from Ray's Guide. It's been a while, and it's true that the latest roadmap update has brought some controversy, let's just say it that way, simply because, well, the progress tracker doesn't show much progress at all. It was actually quite a lackluster, I would have to say, all that weight for just this, right? So we got some tidbits of information as of what's coming with 4.0 a little bit, some of the new items that they're working on, like crafting, but not so much, and also the confirmation that 4.0 is definitely not coming this quarter, which ends in a little over 1 month, so absolutely not. Will we be perhaps in EvoCati within 1 month? It's not impossible. I think that this week is when 3.24 is going to get released, but probably not live. So here we go. Let's see what Ray's Guide has to say.
Hello, this is Danny Raymond, the voice behind Ray's Guide. On Wednesday, August 21st, the bi-weekly Roadmap Roundup had a unique surprise: the return of the Progress Tracker view on the roadmap. And while the new view is better than months and months of no information, I have mixed feelings about this because the Progress Tracker has consistently been misunderstood and misrepresented by fellow content creators.
He's not the only one to have mixed feelings as well. It's also true that a lot of content creators do not represent this properly.
The reason starts with the name. The Progress Tracker does not track progress.
There you go. And that's not the people, it's not the people's fault. It's CIG's fault for calling it a progress tracker that doesn't show any progress.
The definition of progress is advancement towards a goal. And by calling it the progress tracker, some content creators presume that if the bar ends, the feature is complete. And as CIG has often said,
of course, no, right? It's not. It means that they are stopping working. Maybe they will continue working on it later.
The end of the bar only measures the end of the work assignment has happened. Work does not always mean progress. The difference between work and progress is effectiveness. And
that's right. Sometimes they may be finishing their work, but they still need another feature to be done. For example, let's talk about the Quantum Simulation or StarSim, right? Well, work has been completed a long time ago, but it's not finished because server meshing is not here. So they need server meshing to put in there, right?
Effectiveness is something every manager wishes that they could control, but can't. So you might think of these as work assignments, except they aren't really work assignments either. They are time assignments. And time even less means work because there are always inefficiencies and distractions. So at the end of the time bar, the feature might be complete or it might not be complete and shelved for some other priorities, or it might have even been found to be impractical to achieve and dropped.
That's a good point. That's a very good point here that Ray is doing. It's the time that's allocated. Maybe by the end of that time, they might be allocated extra time, or they might not be allocated time at all and work on something else. Absolutely.
We have in the past seen examples of all three. Beyond that, the old iterations of the Progress Tracker tried to give the impression of who was working on a feature and how many people were. The new iteration only shows the topmost level category of whose manager owns the feature and not the downstream disciplines that are actually doing the work on it. So why all these new limitations?
That's a shame that they removed that. It's a shame. It's less clear and it's less transparent.
The reason was that last year when Squadron 42 went from feature complete to polish, CIG decided to change how they were organized and to percolate that change across not just Squadron, but also Star Citizen development. The reason is siloing. When you are looking at creating a feature, it is easy to decide what kind of feature it is and to give the team focused on that kind of features.
I really love that Ray is giving definitions like that. Ray, if I can give you some feedback, constructive feedback from content creator to content creator, if you could put that definition as long as when you are reading it, I think it would be even better. But I really appreciate those definitions here, which make the video clearer, in my opinion. That's cool.
Problems, on the other hand, do not have simple classifications. Solving a problem frequently, approaching nearly always, involves multiple types of people, often assembling a mix of people specifically intended to solve that particular problem. This approach was popularized in the consulting industry under the term Tiger Teams and is regarded as a key tool in agile software development. But problem-specific ad hoc teams are hard to put in a simple bar chart, which leads to the problem of how the progress tracker is presented. It sort of looks like a Gantt chart. a very specific project management tool that is still the mainstay of project management in construction.
Yeah, it definitely looks like some tool that they would be using.
And
right?
other
But it's
industries. In a Gantt chart, the end time of the bar is task completion, and there's usually a parallel bar that shows percent of the task completion.
Yeah, that's a really good point here. Task completion. And I would even dare saying feature completion. It would be awesome if we could have something from CIG, a bit similar to what we are seeing from the fans, right? We see from the community sometimes some charts about features that are missing, features that are working, they're being worked on, features that are complete. That is a list that I would love to see from Cloud Imperial Games, and I think that it would be very well fitting here on the roadmap.
That is regularly updated. In addition, there are lines indicating dependencies between tasks. Gantt charts are used in construction because they are focused on one thing, providing the owner with a reliable move-in date and visibility on where and why it might be slipping. But in order to accomplish that, it must be rigorously maintained on almost a real-time basis for a large project. But software is not so certain. You can't look at a piece of code and see how much more coding hours is needed on it, or a piece of art and how much more work is needed to finish it.
And this is why it's always fluctuating, right? Sometimes they are on track, sometimes they are late, occasionally even ahead of schedule, and all of that, if this needs to be reliable, needs to be updated. Maybe that's why they're updating that every 2 weeks, simply because they cannot do that in a shorter period of time. But even within 2 weeks, that's a lot of work for the people who are in charge of taking care of that. I suppose these are the community manager. We often see Jack Capella doing that, for example.
The way you can measure the quantity of concrete that has been poured and how much more concrete still needs to be poured, because unlike game design, construction is, well, more concrete. So the most that the progress tracker, despite its name, can be looked to as an indication of what top-level managers are supposed to be focused on, and the rough idea of how much longer they think they will need to be focused on it. And with that framing out of the way, so what is actually good for if everything is uncertain and variable, and there's no way to be sure if it actually connects with the actual progress or completion?
Well, I would say that what it's good for is that we get to know what's being worked on right now. Which team works on what right now? I think that the progress tracker, I'm not using the progress tracker. Of course, I watch the progress tracker. I make progress tracker videos and what they're working. Okay, yeah, sure. But I think that it gives us an indication as of what is CIG working on right now. I don't care about, when it might be finished eventually. It might be an indication. Sometimes the progress tracker finishes at the period that could coincide with 4.0, for example, right? But if it goes beyond the next possible release, the next patch, then it's irrelevant, because it can be a feature that they might shelve, as Ray said, and that they might be working on later, or it might be delayed, right?
Well, it gives a window into what CIG wants to happen. Okay. First of all, any bar that goes to the end of December of this year is meaningless.
Yeah.
That's simply the end of the planning year, and it is simply as far out as they are willing to draw the bars until next year's planning process.
And we're not going to be seeing that until at least February, guys.
It absolutely should not be taken as the feature of base building or crafting or whatever is going to be done at the end of the year.
Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no, it's not. We're going to see some of the progress at SeasonCon. Mark my words, guys. I'm pretty sure we will. Maybe some gray box phases, but it's going to be nowhere near fit. They need to create a lot of mechanisms, more assets, features, gameplay loops. It's nowhere near finished.
It means that it is not going to be done at all this year. Maybe not even next year.
Probably
we'll learn
not.
that after the planning process next.
I think that next year, CitizenCon, we might see a version that would look like the release, but I would imagine that is going to come out in 2026.
January. That also applies to the 4 teams doing cleanup on Squadron 42. Do not presume from the roadmap that cleanup and polish on Squadron 42 isn't going well into next year or even beyond. So what about the bars that don't go to the end of the year? From there we know, and obviously CIG knows, that CitizenCon is in late October and the IAE Expo is in mid-November. Those dates are in concrete. So look at the items that show...
And we usually have small patches for these events, right? Like a new ship that's coming or a feature that they're about to come.
completion dates in October. Those are all the features that CIG expects to be able to show, completed, and in or about to enter testing at CitizenCon. Then there are the bars that go to November. These are bars that they are expecting to be finished by IAE Expo. So yes, CIG does expect the Polaris at this IAE, as well as the Hornet Mark II-M.
And these unannounced vehicles, right?
It also shows the Mark II Ghost and Tracker earlier than that, as well as the Zeus ES at the end of this month and the CL at the start of October. I suspected all of these ships in their flyable price increases over concept to be part of the CitizenCon related ship sales. It also means there are several unannounced ships at IAE.
Mm-hmm. There always is. It's a classic.
Note that the task for the unassigned ships ending at CitizenCon does not mean that the ship will be straight to flyable.
Because there's always polishing, there's always testing, right? Balancing, all of that is happening before in closed doors usually, and then boom, oh, the ship is straight to flyable.
It might. The roadmap doesn't actually say that the task was under the bar. It could be to get the ship developed to just the point that it can be announced, but it does suggest that a very full set of announcements will await us at this year's IAE.
Usually, right? And it's so important for CIG. That's when they make their most money. So they have to announce new sales. Plus, right after CitizenCon, people will be hyped normally if it's a good one, right? So they're going to be opening their wallets and they're going to be buying those new ships, of course.
But then you take a look at the tasks that are tagged for being part of 4.0 and you see a pattern. They are all scheduled to be done in the second week of October. That is about as close as you can get to a confirmation that CIG's desire is to have 4.0 be a CitizenCon announcement.
Of course.
Since they are undoubtedly trying for a big announcement at CitizenCon, my expectation would be either a jump from Evocati to Open PTU or a jump from Evocati to an unlimited tech preview channel event. Either way, I think that they will be looking for the NDA to be active on 4.0 until right at CitizenCon. Whether it will work out depends on factors that I don't think CIG even knows certainly or has control over. But this new progress tracker definitely opens.
They have to start the Evocati and the PTU and the progress tracker right after 324 is out. They must.
A window into their desires. And now for an update on our ship giveaways. To start with, we have a special membership level to cover the cost of doing live coverage of CitizenCon with its own giveaway for a Hull C, the colossal cargo container carrying craft.
Wow, Hull C, very nice. Anyway, that is all for this video. Always appreciate Race Guide. I'll put the link in the description down below. Give him a shout out. Tell him Erad sent you. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.